We are living in some of the most exciting times there is. I believe that we are coming upon the time and are already in the start of it, that the Father is separating the sheep from the goats. And that separation is going to become even more clearly as we go down the road. The church has been lulled to sleep by the rapture doctrine, that they're going to be raptured out. If you love Yeshua and you have accepted him in your life, then you're going to be raptured out in the sky. Bye-bye, everybody. And we just going to look upon you and all your hard times, and we're not going to be involved. That's the biggest lie that's ever been told and ever been taught. I mean, it is straight from the pits of hell. Hal Lindsey promoted this thing. Hal Lindsey, John Pentecost, all of them promoted this thing, and the whole doctrine came from a vision that a lady had in trance. Margaret MacDonald went into a trance in Glasgow, Scotland, and when she come out of the trance, she told us, it's been revealed to me that the church is not going to go through the tribulation. And then they took that and they ran with it, and they took and bent all the scriptures to promote their doctrine. But I want to tell you that there is going to be a time of trying like there never has been before. It's called the Great Tribulation. And people, if you can't depend on Almighty Yahweh now, you're not going to be able to depend on him then. Because I'm going to tell you that it's going to be rough. There are going to be many believers that will lose their life to stay faithful to Yahweh. Martyrs is going to be just abundant. And it's not because the Father hates us. It's because he loves us. And many are going to fall by the sword to be purged and made white. And I think that's talking about some of the believers that are caught up in carnality and haven't come to the truth of covenant. That they're going to be saved by giving their life because of the mercy of Almighty Yahweh. But those who know their sovereign will do great exploits. I think there are going to be miracles that compete and maybe even go past what was seen in the apostolic age. I think that the believers in the movement of Almighty Yahweh is going to be so strong in that time. You're going to have the protection and direction of the Ruach HaKodesh to be able to make it through. I know that the church has been lulled asleep, teaching that all the believers are going to be raptured out. That's not true, and the scriptures don't back it up. Matthew 24:29 says, immediately after the tribulation of those days. I rest my case on that. 1 Thessalonians says that the last trump of Yahweh, not the first one, the last trump of Yahweh. So if we can understand and agree tonight that we are going to go through it, then it behooves each and every one of us to know what it's going to look like and what we are going to have to deal with. Now, I hear people talk about, well, we can go to this place or we can go to that place. Let me tell you something. Every person that's not a believer and not saved is going to hate you and want to turn you in to the government. And if they have any idea that you got food, they're going to be wanting to kill you to get your food. It's not going to be an easy time, people. And if you don't learn to trust Almighty Yahweh and lean on Him now and this time, you are not going to be able to in that time. Too many believers are satisfied with a lukewarm relationship with Almighty Yahweh. You have to be radical for Him. You have to be focused on His kingdom, because it is going to take that for you to endure. And when I say endure, I don't necessarily mean that you come through it alive. I mean that you come through it saved and remain anchored in your relationship with Almighty Yahweh. Today there's some tests that come in our life. It's small tests, little tests, they're not life and death tests. They're just comfort or discomfort and little hardships. But we're talking about life and death in this situation. And you're going to have to depend on the Father to deliver you. Now, I don't want to depress anybody, but I want you to know that you have to have a relationship with Almighty Yahweh that is not going to falter. I mean, if you have children, they need to be protected. They need to have a relationship with the Father. I know that they're under certain ages, that they're covered by their parents. But listen, if you go back and read and study the catacomb Christians, many of them saw their children sacrificed, yet stayed faithful. We need to understand that even if our children are sacrificed by staying faithful, that our faith covers them if they're small and not able to make a decision for themselves. But we need to be focused on the times that's coming and not take for granted. We need to be building our relationship with the Father in the times when it's not so difficult, because there are difficult times coming. They're coming. The Word tells us about it. It warns us about it. And blessed be the name of Almighty Yahweh. Nobody's going to change it. You stop and listen to what's going on all over the world. I mean, not just this nation, but countries all over the world are looking to Trump for peace, peace, peace. What does the Word tell you about when everybody's crying peace? I'm not saying this is it, but I'm saying it very well could be it. Because it's a time when the whole world looking to Him to make peace. We have to look to Almighty Yahweh. He is our sovereign. He is our King. He is our Savior. If you will, go with me to Matthew 24:15. We're going to read through to 28. We're not going to read 29. We just got through talking about immediately after the tribulation of those days. Matthew 24:15. Therefore, when you see the abomination of the desolation spoken by Daniel the prophet, standing in the Kadosh place, whoever reads, let him understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let him who is on the housetop not go down to take anything out of his house. And let him who is in the field not go back to get his clothes. But woe to those who are pregnant and to those who are nursing babies in those days. And pray that your flight may not be in the winter or on the Sabbath. For then there will be great tribulation, such as not been since the beginning of the world until this time. No, nor ever shall be. And unless those days were shortened, no flesh would be saved. But for the elect's days' sake, those days will be shortened. Then, if anyone says to you, look, here is the Messiah, or there, do not believe it. For false Mashiachs and false prophets will rise and show great signs and wonders, to deceive, if possible, even the very elect. See, I have told you beforehand. Therefore, if they say to you, look, he is in the desert, do not go out. Look, he is in the inner room, do not believe it. For as lightning comes from the east and flashes to the west, so also will come the Son of Man be. For wherever the carcass is, there the eagles will be gathered together. We need to understand that there are going to be false prophets, false messiahs. And listen, I know majority of Christians are subject to follow the miracles and the signs and the wonders. When they see someone doing a miracle, they don't examine what he teaches. They say, well, he must be of Yahweh because Yahweh's doing miracles through him. But this here says there's going to be lying signs and wonders. We're going to see the power of Ha-Satan unleashed like never has been before. And the false prophet is going to be by the power of Ha-Satan. And he's going to work miracles and wonders. And if you're looking for the miracle and the wonder to verify whether that thing's of Yahweh or not, you're going to be deceived. The only thing you can bank on is the word of Yahweh. The word of Yahweh is forever. It is not going to change. And the sad thing is about it is that much of the traditional church treats the word very loosely. We need to understand that the word is what it says it is, and it is not going to change. It is written, and it's going to be. He said that I will perform every word that comes out of my mouth. Not one will return to me void. So if it's in the word, Yahweh, in the word, it's going to happen. And we have been warned through and through about this time that people were going to be fighting over whether they would share their child that they were eating with another, that they will be eating their own children. People, that's tough. That's tough. This is a warning. First, hard times is coming. And not only is hard times coming, but a time of deception like there has never been before. It said, if possible, they would deceive the very elect. People, that means you better be just more than an ordinary common Christian. You better be set apart. You better be walking in kadoshness. You better not think, well, this is just fine, grace covers it. Because the church has perverted grace so badly that people are unconcerned about disobedience. This is a warning that we are to judge the word that comes to us and be discerning. Don't let miracles or wonders fool you. If it's not in agreement with the word, if it's not according to the word, then reject it. Cast it out. Get away from it. We have to understand that it's not by the physical things that we see. It's about the word and the movement of the Ruach HaKodesh. This is a warning that we are to judge the word that comes to us and be discerning. Where do you get discernment from? How many people here pray every day for understanding and discernment? That's the most important thing you can have in this time. Understanding and discernment. And know that understanding and discernment comes from Almighty Yahweh and Him alone. We need to seek Him for it. It's not just an automatic thing that just because you come to Yeshua, you've got understanding, you've got discernment. No, you've got to seek the Father, seek the gifts of the Father, and to walk in them. I do not take for granted that I have righteous discernment. I constantly pray for it. That my discernment is not according to my opinion or my ideas, but according to His Word, His Ruach HaKodesh. I mean, sometimes I think preachers get all caught up in pride and arrogance and think that they just got it together and they don't have to seek for wisdom, they don't have to seek for understanding, and they just got it together and it's just poured out on them. No, you have to walk in a relationship with the Father. If you're going to have the anointing of the Father, you're going to seek Him like He is the fine treasure above all things on earth. He is treasured above all things. That limits a lot of people. There's going to be many lies come forth, and they're going to be believable to the carnal. Who is the author of confusion? The devil. He is the author of confusion. Now what he wants to do is he wants to stir up confusion in you, where you start doubting the word, where you start doubting the solidity of the word, that it's anchored, it's going to take place. It's not a question if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. The Bible that we have today is the only book in the world that has not only told history, but has told the events that's going to come thousands of years down the road, and completely accurate with them. And no person in their right mind can doubt the word of Yahweh. It has been proven over and over and over again. They laughed at Isaiah when he talked about the king that took Judah captive. And they They laughed and said there was never no such mention of the king and of that name in history, and never no such mention of him taking Judah captive. You know, this is the biggest goof up in the whole Bible. In 1949, they uncovered a mound that had the base of the throne there. And guess what? Inscribed on the base of that throne was the name of this king and the picture of him taking Judah captive. The Bible was more accurate than their history books. People, we need to understand that when the Father says a time is coming there's going to be greater tribulations than ever has been on the earth. People, that's a big statement. That covers a lot of ground. You can't just take this thing unconsciously. You have to be preparing for it today. You may not think you're going to go through it. You may think you're going to go be with the Father before it comes, and you may be. But if you have to go through it, if you're caught in it, you better be prepared. And why would the Father tell us all of this if we wouldn't need to be prepared for it? We need to quit making excuses. Only by the knowledge of the Word and discernment, revelation of the Ruach HaKodesh, can we know truth. You've got to be focused. You've got to seek it. You've got to know that the Word is truth. And when I say this, I'm talking about one of the things I appreciate about this congregation. You know I do it. I know that Roger does. He goes and seeks out the Word when it seems a little doubtful, a little questionable. You go out and seek the Word and see what it actually said. And you find out that what it actually said is accurate, even though what written don't seem accurate. What it actually said, when you go back to the original, it's there. It's locked down. We find many things, like, well, somebody says, well, whoever calls on the name of Yeshua will be saved. Never did say that. The Greek word that they rendered call on actually translates to invoke or take on, like putting on a coat. All those who put on Yeshua shall be saved. Now that's a lot different than just calling on him, isn't it? So we need to be diligent to seek out the Scriptures and to go through them and to understand. And if you just take one Scripture and hang on it, well, there's no reason to ever question it. But if you take all the Scriptures and study the Scriptures and see that where sometimes it seems like there's a little differentiation, then you need to start checking the translation of the Word. Because it's possibly a poor translation. And there are some in there. There's some that were just added words. 1 John 5:7, wasn't even in there at all. It's written in the King James, but it wasn't even in the Bible at all. It's totally added by the translators. Only by the knowledge of the Word and discerning revelation of the Ruach HaKodesh can we know truth. It is just imperative that you be anchored in the Word. Matthew 24:24, for false messiahs and false prophets will rise and show great signs and wonders to deceive. Now, in Thessalonians, it tells you that the Father is going to send a strong delusion to cause them to believe a lie, all those who have not received the love of the truth. but had pleasure in unrighteousness. Now, when the Father deludes you, you're going to be deluded. You're going to be deluded. Deceive, if possible, even the very elect. For false messiahs and false prophets will rise and show great signs and wonders, to deceive, if possible, even the elect. That's strong, people. That's strong. The very set apart, dedicated, the elect. If it's possible, would deceive them. If you got areas in your life that you are neglecting that's wide open, guess what? That's where he's going to hit you. He's going to examine you like with a magnifying glass and see if there's any open spots where he can deceive you, where he can come in and get you to justify and excuse and compromise. And we're living in a generation where compromise is common. Justification is common. Let's justify ourselves rather than submitting to the Word. If you believe that you are so strong in the Word that you cannot be deceived, you probably already are. We need to be seeking to be stronger, 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 and stronger. We are to pray that we are not deceived. Pray for understanding and sovereignly understanding. Pray that the Father give us understanding, knowledge, wisdom, discernment. Discernment. Sovereignly discernment. Not imaginations of our own mind, but sovereignly discernment. We need discernment in our daily lives, but it will be more critical at that time of life. During the time of tribulation and trials, discernment will be more critical than ever before. There is only one way to have discernment, and that is to be in agreement with the covenant that Almighty Yahweh. There is a constant effort of Satan to deceive. He is constantly working to bring about deception. He don't get tired. He don't have to have rest. He just constantly works to bring about deception. Confusion's his whole game. That's all he's got to work with. That's all he's got to work with. Confuse you about the Word, confuse you about the promises, confuse you about what's coming on, what's going to happen. Our way of life before the Father is not just a choice. It's survival. It's survival of life. If you don't choose Almighty Yahweh, you are abiding in death. He is the only salvation there is. You can say, well, I went a long time without believing in Yahweh and nothing really drastic happened to me. Well, it was by the mercy of Yahweh giving you time to come to Him. But there will be a time when if you don't start walking in covenant, if you don't keep His word, that grace will end, that mercy will reach the limit. We know we have to develop our relationship with the Father through Yeshua HaMashiach. And how do you develop that? By walking in covenant, obedience to Him, making Him the ultimate goal of your life, your ultimate focus, every day of your life. That He is your focus, He is your guide, He is your director. Our way of life before the Father is not a choice. It's survival for life, for eternity. That's what it is. People, we have to develop our relationship with the Father. We have to develop it through Yeshua HaMashiach. Yeshua HaMashiach did not give us the right to sin. He gave us the right to make a decision and to have power over all the lusts and desires of the flesh that the devil has cast upon us and the carnal mind leads us into. Studying the Word of Yahweh, preparing yourself that you won't be deceived when that time comes, that you will have understanding, that you will have discernment, that you will not in any way be deceived, misled. 2 Thessalonians, 2nd chapter, 11th and 12th verse. And for this reason, Almighty Yahweh will send them a strong delusion, that they should believe the lie, that they all may be condemned, who did not believe the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. 2 Thessalonians 2:11. What we need to understand is that the Father is going to send a delusion to those who have not received the love of righteousness, who did not believe the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. People, this is a serious scripture. This scripture ought to run chills down your back. It ought to run chills down your back. There is a strong reason for us to examine our desire for the truth of Yah's Word, our love of the truth, our wanting the truth, not religious denominational doctrines, but the truth of the Word, the solidity of the Word. Satan is constantly trying to confuse us, to delude the Word of Yahweh, to make it of none effect in our life, to laden us down with sin so that we are non-effective, that we are totally ineffective in the kingdom. The Father will not fill a dirty vessel. He will not work through a dirty vessel. You're either going to be separate to Him or you're going to be excused from Him. We are protected from the delusions if we love, seek, and walk in Yah's truth, in His righteousness. That's our protection. He said He would send them a strong delusion because they did not love the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. So the love of the truth is our protection. Seeking the truth is our protection. We've got to be willing to take truth over all our thoughts and all of our imaginations. Many have already deceived themselves concerning the tribulation period. Well, we won't go through it. There's more people that believe they won't go through it than believe they're going to go through it. People, I've been preaching this stuff for 40 years, and people looked at me like I had a hole in the center of my head. But I tell you what, there's more that believe we are going to see the tribulation today that's coming into truth than there ever has been. They're waking up to the lies of John Darby and Hal Lindsey and understanding that it's just strictly a move of the devil to get people to be unconscious about their sins in their life, believing that sin's not going to weaken or destroy them. Many have already deceived themselves concerning the tribulation period. If it is possible for you to be deceived, you will believe the lie. What lie? Well, there's going to be a false prophet. There's going to be a false Messiah. Take your choice. The beast. Take your choice. The lie. The lie that you have to follow after the beast to be fed, to be lived. You can't buy or sell without having the mark of the beast. So that means that we are going to have to depend on Almighty Yahweh to supply our every need. And I tell you, you may not see that or be able to understand that today because we don't see the type of movement that we're going to see in that time. There's going to be such a time of movement, provisions made, that those who know they're sovereign are going to do great exploits. I want to be, if I'm here, I want to be one of those that knows His sovereign. I don't want to be one of them that's sitting out wondering, well, what's going to happen next? Many do not take seriously this critical time in Yahweh's time period to come. Many do not believe they're going to go through it. They don't believe it's going to happen. They don't believe it's going to affect them. They think they're going to be off in heaven somewhere looking down, seeing all this stuff coming on, all these people, and they're just not going to have to deal with it at all. That's not scriptural. Nowhere in the world will you find that where that's scriptural. That's just somebody's imagination. Totally contradicts all the scriptures concerning this. They don't understand that you will not be able to buy or sell without the mark. And your unsaved loved ones, you need to know that your unsaved loved ones that you love and you think are just fine, they won't hurt you, they won't harm you, your unsaved loved one will turn into an enemy to you. They will be your very bosom enemy. They will seek to destroy, to turn you in to the government. You will find that they have no love for you, nothing but distaste and hate. And the word says that when that time comes, that all who have not come in, written in the Lamb's Book of Life, will take the mark. They will follow after the beast. That's serious, people. That is serious. If you are off the concept that this time is drawing near, and I don't see how you cannot be seeing all the things that's coming on, then you have to know that these unsaved people, if they don't come into covenant with Almighty Yahweh, they're not going to make it. They will follow after the beast. They will worship after the beast, and that will condemn them. They will be damned without hope. Now, I don't know about you, but that stirs up lots of things in me about a lot of people that I see today that don't take the word or this life seriously. Your friends that are not saved, not walking in covenant, they'll believe the lie, and they will seek to destroy you. Talking about hiding out somewhere, your friends are going to rat out on you if they see you. Where can you go today that nobody's going to know where you're at? Nobody's going to see you. Your friends are going to be the enemy that's going to seek you out and seek to destroy you and take whatever food you have. Your only hope is in the protection of Almighty Yahweh, His deliverance. Not because they choose to be an enemy to you, but Yahweh will send them a strong delusion, and they will understand that you will become their enemy. I mean, what can be more desperate than someone who is totally demon possessed? And that's what these people are going to be. They're going to be totally demon possessed. They're going to seek to destroy every believer they can find. They will believe the lie that you will be a threat to them and outlawed to be punished. There will be no friends that are not saved and walking in truth of Yahweh. That's the only friends you're going to have. The rest of the world is going to hate you. It's going to hate you for real. It's not going to be the little subtle hate that goes on today. It's going to hate you for real and seek to destroy you. 1 Thessalonians 5, 1 through 6. But concerning the times and seasons, brother, you have no need that I should write you. For you yourselves know perfectly well that the day of Almighty Yahweh comes as a thief in the night. For when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them, as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. But you, brethren, are not in darkness, so that that day should overtake you as a thief. You are all sons of light and sons of the day. We are not of the night or the darkness. So it's not going to catch you unaware. You've been told, you've been warned. Matthew 24, 29 tells you about the tribulation that's coming. 1 Thessalonians tells you about the tribulation that's coming. We need to know that we are not going to be spared this time. We will be carried through it, I believe. But many are going to give their life to purge them and make them white, as in Daniel. But those who know their sovereign will do great exploits. We walk in the light of the covenant of Yahweh. Then we will not be caught unaware. You will know. You will understand. There are many preparations that should be made to be prepared for the tribulation. That means renewing our minds in order to have the empowerment and knowledge of the times that we're living in and how to be able to trust the Father and be delivered, hear the Father and get His instructions, knowing that He is going to give you revelation that will deliver you. And that your life depends on hearing Him. You must have the revelation and guidance of the Ruach HaKodesh and the empowerment to do great exploits. If you want to be one of those who know their deity and do great exploits, then you have to seek to know Him, know all about Him, understand Him, and have a relationship with Him. If it were possible, the very elect would be deceived to believe the lie. If we are to strive to be included in the very elect, that we would not be deceived. We want to be so close to our Father Yahweh that we can feel the breath of His nostrils upon our face, that we can be guided, directed, and corrected by Him. It is important. It is so important that we focus on our relationship with the Father and examine ourselves closely. Quit making excuses for our bad behavior. Quit making excuses for the sins in our life and start getting them out. Get them out of your life. Walk in righteousness. Walk in covenant with Almighty Yahweh. That is going to be your strength. If you hold on to sin, you're going to be in trouble. And I see much of the traditional church today. If the Father was to come today, if this thing was to happen today, there would be lots of people in trouble. Just lots of people in trouble. And I think we have to be focused on making people aware, getting them to understand, because it is important. You know, it's not just we come to the pastor and tell him that we believe Yeshua or that Jesus is the Son of God and that we're saved. No, we have to walk it. We have to be in relationship with the Father. That is imperative. Imperative.